Greetings, friends! It is me, Vinny, your boy, the person that does videos sometimes. Welcome to the floor of my studio. Today, guys, we are not meditating. Instead, I'm been showing off my record collection. I've been collecting records for past a little over a year now, just because I found that I really like the the aesthetic of records. Ever since records, everything's suddenly just downsized a whole bunch. You had cassettes with these really small boxes. You had CDs, which were, bigger, but not that much bigger. And now everything's digital, and the art is like that big. Which sucks because back in the day, a lot of artists, and even now, work really hard designing their covers. And I feel like vinyl records are the only real way to be able to appreciate that. So I'm gonna show you guys what I have. First up is Abigail. I actually got this one for Jenna because she's a big ABBA fan, but she likes the hits. So I got this one so that we have it. It's what you'd expect. It's got Dancing Queen, Know Me, Knowing You. They're good stuff. I like ABBA a lot. Like, I'm not a huge fan of them, but I feel like they are legitimately one of the greats. I'm not really doing any order on this. I'm just going through at what I have and showing it off. So this is Invisible Touch, and this is what I mean when I say that I like to have the records. Look at that. Look at that. I love Genesis because they always felt weird to me, you know what I mean? It's like their music is always different. Invisible Touch was like, I feel like their first really poppy album. Phil Collins' music has always been very influential as far as like pop ever since the 80s. I feel like he really influenced what modern pop turned into. Genesis for so long was just really weird. Like, if you listen to Akabab or Duke, you will know what I mean, because some of those songs, they seem quirky in a way. I don't know how else to explain it. Nonetheless, Invisible Touch, I found this one just randomly at the record store, and I knew, $10, gotta get it. Here's another one I found randomly at a record store and knew that I had to get it. This is A Single Man by Elton John. This is one of the few records I have that has the fold out, which is pretty cool. I like this cover because you flip around. There's the back of him. It'd be cool if he was centered in the front, because as it is, he's kind of off-centered. This album I feel is really interesting. It was during the later 80s, I believe, when Elton John was kind of starting to drift off the charts. He had his big hits like Rocket Man, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, and this was kind of just when he was kind of soaring down into mediocrity. But nonetheless, his music was still fabulous. What I love about this album is every single one feels like it's a different genre. If you want to know what I mean, look at Big Dipper. It is feels like a 1940s kind of jazzy big band song, and I really like it. I actually like this whole album. I think it's really great. And of course, it has Song for a Guy on there, which was the really first instrumental song that Elton ever did, and really is unlike anything he's ever done, and is one of my favorite songs. Alright, now here's this random one, Over the Top by Twerp, or TWRP, whichever way you want to pronounce it. This is not my favorite Twerp album. My favorite would be Return to Wherever, whichever one came before that. Nonetheless, when I found out that they had Over the Top being sold as a vinyl, I knew I had to get it, because just look at this. Look at this art. Look at this art. I've been a big fan of Twerp ever since they started touring with Ninja Sex Party, just because their music is so good. So yeah, I really want to get Together Through Time as well. That's my favorite of Twerp's albums. However, this is the one I have for now. They are selling the vinyl of Together Through Time. If you want to check them out, this is a good one to get into. But just saying, Together Through Time is my favorite. So, alright, this is kind of another random one. I've listened to literally one song off this album. I don't have a record player, so I don't play records. Usually I just listen to it on Spotify, but I collect these of my favorites. But I just happened to be like $1 for this record or something like that. But I've only heard You're the Only Woman off of this one, but I liked it enough, and it looked 70s enough that I knew I'd like it, but I still haven't listened to it. So, yeah, that may give you any indication of how I go about buying records. Now here's an actual good album, Styx, The Grand Illusion. This is a really good record. I like that cover. Look at that cover. This, of course, is the album that has Come Sail Away on it, which is one of the greatest songs of all time. So yeah, you know it's gonna be good in that case. But hey, if nothing else, we can play a game of Pick Up Sticks. Alright, next up is one of the few hits albums that I have, this is actually, I have this one as a CD. I bought it when the Cave Collective in town, which is the venue that I've done a couple of shows at, has done, they did a couple yard sales, and I picked up this album, and then I later on found the vinyl. I was like, yeah, I'd like to have that. This is the best hits of Simon and Garfunkel. I'm not a huge Simon and Garfunkel fan. I really like all the songs on this album, but the individual albums themselves I'm not a huge fan of. I feel like Paul Simon went on to do much bigger things, like this one. Graceland, yay! I feel like Paul Simon is a true American songwriter. It's just, his music was always so unique, and so, I don't know, it felt really, really thought through. Anyway, this album has such hits like The Boy on the Bubble, Diamonds on the Soles of Your Shoes, which was one of my mom's favorite songs. She actually was the one that introduced me to Paul Simon, so he's actually one of the first artists that I ever listened to, and he's still one of my favorites. There's also this one, which is Here Comes Ramin Simon, which I really like the cover on it. It's a pretty cool cover, not gonna lie. The main reason I got this album, aside from it being good, is that it has Loves Me Like a Rock on it, which was one of my favorite songs growing up, and still is very near and dear to my heart. And when I say favorite songs growing up, I mean when I was like 4 or 5. So yeah, Paul Simon's been in my life for quite a while, and was probably a big reason why I enjoyed writing songs as a kid and love songs that feel like poems, because his songs just always felt like a poem in music, you know, unlike some of these artists that just, you know, same line 20 times. Anyway, that's a good album. This is another one that I knew I had to have when I found it. Now this was the one that actually started me collecting records. This was the first record that I ever found collected. It's Don't Shoot Me, I'm on the Piano Player by Elton John. What I love about this album, aside from the name, because it's a very clever name, but this is another one that I had the foldout for. It is missing, I believe it's missing the inserts. Nonetheless, this is a good album. Everything But Crocodile Rock is great. It was one of the last albums, I believe, that he had Paul Buckmaster arranging, and you can really tell. Have Mercy on the Criminal, fabulous song. If you ever have the chance, check out this album. It's really good. Now this next group of, what is it? 3, 4, 5, 6 albums. These are essentially, I found them all grouped together in pretty good condition actually, and I knew that I had to get them. So all of a sudden, my Billy Joel collection was like halfway complete. I have these in order of like how they came out. This is Street Life Serenader, which is one of my favorite Billy Joel records. This was back when Billy Joel was still young Billy Joel. I'm sure any Billy Joel fans will not like me saying this, but I feel like the only time Billy Joel was his first album, Cold Spring Harbor, and this one, Street Life Serenader, because I don't know, it's just like they feel unique, they feel like it's his own thing, whereas everything else that he ever did really just felt like he was trying to be somebody else. And I get it, you know what, I do it too, but it just sucks that a musician that good feels like he never really came into his own as an artist. Nonetheless, I still like a lot of his records. The Stranger, it's a good album. It's got Moving Out on it, which is one of my favorite songs of his. And of course, this is probably my favorite album as of late of his, on 52nd Street. It's got a lot of great songs on there. If you haven't checked out the full albums, check out the full albums. So many great songs get lost because of the way the music industry works. Glass Houses, it's kind of a more unknown one. Obviously, You May Be Right was on there. Some of my favorite songs like All for Elena, which was very 80s. The Bridge was his 80s, I believe this was his 83 album.
Nope.
Which has some good songs on it. Some of them are a little bland. I believe this was the album that when he did the tour for it, he ended up doing the post-Cold War Russia tour called The Bridge to Russia. Actually, one of my older coworkers told me a story about going to Russia around that time. And he said it was still scary, so I'm sure it was real fun. But for Billy Joel, I think they were pretty careful not to scare him off, because they wanted to get a good reputation for themselves, because they didn't want Americans to be afraid of them. All right, this is the last one that I have. An Innocent Man. It is also a good one, but it's a very doo-wop, I guess you could call it. It's the album that has Uptown Girl on it, which honestly, not the greatest song, but it does have Keeping the Faith, which is a good song. So yeah, once again, skip the hits. Alright, last that I have in my box here, it's Duke by Genesis. This is a great album. It's a great album. I don't know what else to tell you. But also look at that. Something about that cover. I really like Genesis's covers. I would love to be able to get someone that could design an album cover like that, because it feels so quirky and weird and really reflects the way that Genesis was with their music. But yeah, definitely recommend this album as well. It's a great Genesis record. And that is all that I have in my record collection. I may end up doing another video similar to this later on. Typically, I'm always looking for records and I get stuff that I recognize, but there are of course big ones on my wish list. I've been trying to find like Ben Folds 5 albums, and it's very difficult. Even Ben Folds records themselves, it's very hard to find in vinyl because they were big around a time that not a lot of vinyl was produced. Here more recently, it's become a lot more prevalent, and so it's a lot easier to find, like, you know, I can find George Ezra records for being produced for cheap, but like if I look up Whatever and Ever Amen and find the vinyl of it, it's like a couple $100 for that. So needless to say, that is on my wish list, but it's something that's almost impossible to just find if you're not going online and searching for it. As far as the classics go, my wish list would probably be things like, you know, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road is an album that I really need to get. I really want to have that one, just because it's such a influential record of its time, and as well as for me. And of course, I'd love to get like the Beatles, a couple of them. More specifically, I'd like to get Sgt. Pepper's. I feel like that would be a great album to have. That cover is just really good. If you don't have that one in vinyl, what do you do? My goal is to eventually have enough of these records that I can just like have a whole collection of them and have entire collections of artists. The two I'm wanting to complete first, obviously Billy Joel. I've only got 6 more to go on those, so if I can find them, that'd be good. But I'd love to be able to like complete the studio albums of Elton John. I'd love to be able to eventually find all of Ben Folds as vinyl. You know, obviously newer artists like Twerp and George Ezra that are still making music and have only made a few albums. That'd be a lot easier to get their full collection because there's only 2 or 3. Anyway guys, that was my record collection. Let me know, what things do you like to collect? And more specifically, if you ever find any vinyl, let me know. Alright, anyway guys, hope you enjoyed this video here on the Vinny Hunter Variety channel. If you haven't already, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!